one thing I want to make note of, the way we have this set up is on this top plate. When we bring the ransom rest into position, you don't have to worry about this being a full plate and catching your fingers in between it, because the ransom rest is heavy. So as I set it on, you'll notice how if you decide to build something like this, I think this is the best way, and you'll see what I mean in just a moment. You're all right, bud. So as you can see, it's clear to set down like that. Now, one thing I'll show you on these leveling bolts, and well, we're not worried about leveling this. This is going to be level to the plane that we're shooting on, but don't worry about getting it level. As we get out to the desert, you'll see how this works. But on these leveling bolts, do you see how I can thread it down and it drops out right there? What you don't want to do is have all of these hanging down like that and try to run them through the hole. You're going to mess the threads up. So I found the best way to do this. Run just one of them down and take that one and just line it up. And now it's in that hole. And now the rest of these, if I just line it up, they'll thread right in. And that way you don't have to worry about messing the threads on those adjustment bolts up. This was a lot of thought went into this, and I think that the dead weight of the truck is going to work. And one thing keeping in mind, wind is a factor, wind hitting the truck, but if we don't have any wind, or even just minimal wind, I think we're going to have some sort of consistency. So you see these knobs right here, these center knobs? Hang on. It's a beautiful day out. This is the kind of weather you want to do something like this in. The timing's been perfect because it's been pretty muddy where I go shooting, and so the amount of time that it took to get this put together worked out pretty good. So these leveling knobs, what you can do, get your lock washer and the nut threaded into place. Once you have those threaded into place, hold on to the nut, tighten that top nut down, and then this center knob, just run it down like that. Yeah, I told you, we put a lot of thought into this, right? So now once you have those, that secondary knob right there, then just come up underneath. Start tightening it down. Crisscross it. And know what you're thinking. It's a lot of play in this system. That's right. This wouldn't work like this. No way. Never work. Like that, you don't have anything. Now, watch this. So, alright, so we have our setup, but we have play, and we have to eliminate as much of this play as we can. And it's not going to be perfect, but what we need is repeatability. Repeatability to some degree that we can depend on. So, we need to begin taking out all the play that we can from the system. The truck, we're going to let the truck do what it wants to do. As long as we're not leaning on it, we're not moving it, and there's not a lot of wind, I think we'll have pretty good repeatability. So this is what I have. So I have a bottle jack. Problem with the bottle jack, well, one, for that. You know, I could have a cap welded onto there, but I still have a height issue with the average bottle jack. But, you know, if you go to your U-Haul store, or someplace like that, maybe you got a friend that can get you a discount on this kind of stuff, and we take our bottle jack and we place it just like that. And then, you know, I kind of thought, since we got a reloading channel, we'll use us a Dillon handle. Okay, so now when we start running our bottle jack up, now what we're doing is we're creating lift on everything, and that lift is going to take away our up and down movement. Okay, and what we're not trying to do, we're not trying to pick the truck up off the ground. All we're trying to do, watching everything, making sure, you know, everything's looking good. Keep in mind, okay, there I go. I can hear it. I can hear everything compressing together. I don't need to go any further. Okay, now keep in mind, out in the desert where I'm going to be, I'm going to have a square steel plate under this jack, so I have something somewhat level to set this onto. Okay, so there we go, just like that. All right, let's go back up top. All right, so now what I have a turnbuckle. Preferably, I think it'd be best to use a turnbuckle with a hook on each side, but I'm just working with what I have, and I've taken this chain and I've bolted it through. Okay, now your chain, you know, I could have used a lighter duty chain, but I think for the absorption of the recoil, the mass of the chain, I think when you have the mass, I think that'll better absorb all the energy. Now, on your turnbuckle, go ahead and extend it out, because when we hook our chain to the other end coming off of our receiver, you're going to want some adjustment room for it. But it doesn't really matter if you don't have a hook on each side. You can just through bolt it like that. I'm going to crank these down. I need to get another lock washer. That would be best, but I'm just working with what I have right now, just getting this mocked up, and I'll probably use it this way, you know, just like this in the desert for the first time or two until I figure out exactly how I want to run everything. So now need 2 clevises, just enough to do the job. I've been fighting the wasps all day, and I'm winning. So it's going to go something like this. You have your turnbuckle pretty much maxed out. So now you're going to extend the chain as far out as you can get it within reason. Then you're going to drop your clevis like that. You're not going to have to tighten the clevis down a whole bunch. Just hand tight, because once you preload this, it's going to stay there, right? And then when you're done, before you take off driving, you're going to tear all this down. That's how that's going to work. I think that projects like this are pretty cool. I like doing things like this. It's right up my alley. What I'm trying to do is get it on the end of the chain like that. Don't get the chain bound on the other side like that. I think we can absorb that. Now notice, we have a little play in that yet. That bottle jack took most of it out. Now what we're going to do with these turnbuckles, we're just not taking the play out, we're taking the absorption of any of that play. So now I'm going to begin turning the turnbuckles just enough that all I want to do is remove the slack, and I place a preload on the back of this system. Don't have to over tighten it. It just has to be nice and firm. So there we go. So now, as you can see, now the only side-to-side play I have is from the truck, but all we're doing is, let me better focus this now. So now, as you can see, we have motion forward to rearward pretty much taken out of the equation. The only motion we have is the back and forth. But the only thing we're going to be doing is pulling the trigger. Once we have the pistol set in position, we pull the trigger, we have recoil. Once we place that back down and we're ready to pull the shot, the truck, because of where it's positioned, it's going to be pretty much where it was. And if we have just a little wind, on average, if that wind is consistent, it's going to be exactly where it was, within reason. And really, we won't know until we get out to the range and start working with this, but I think it should be very interesting. And something pretty nice. So now, my wife, I mean, if you think about it, if I pull my first shots with this, and then someone sits on the tailgate, it's all different. If you pull your first few shots with this, and you move something from that side of the truck to that side of the truck, or someone leans on the truck, it's all gone, right? But for my wife, you know, she just might get away with sitting on this truck, very minimal movement, and just pulling the trigger. And if she does it the same every time, positioned in the same spot in the truck, we should have some bit of repeatability. Now the best we can get is no one sitting on the tailgate, the truck not moving, but it should be interesting to see what we can get away with and what we can't. Now, one last thing, let me get this. See, the reason I like the tailgate is because my wife, her feet hurt her if she stands too long. So we can try the tailgate, but we have this remote control trigger. So now this means we just keep the tailgate shut. I set a chair off to the side in the shade for her, and she runs the trigger. I set it up, she runs the trigger. So it should be pretty interesting to see what we can get away with in the way of sitting on the tailgate and what we can actually achieve just by sitting remotely and not touching anything, and just seeing what kind of a repeatability factor we're going to have. So there we go. So guys and gals, look forward to seeing this out in the desert. We're going to try and get out pretty early in the morning and just see what we can pull off. So it should be interesting. So guys and gals, that's the end of this video. God bless. We'll see you on the next.